Hi everyone, I'm Ivana Tilca, Quality Manager at 3XM Group and also Microsoft MVP for Artificial Intelligence. In this opportunity, I'm going to start this session with an image from Alex Kidman. I borrowed this image from René Schuldet, another MR developer. Alex Kidman is the creator of HoloLens and Kinect, and he quoted on LinkedIn the following phrase: "Cloud-assisted AI for understanding physical objects is happening today. Combining this with mixed reality will enable us to deliver persistent mixed reality experiences with people, places, and things." It's an interesting panorama, right? Okay, so let's begin. As part of our agenda for today, we are going to overview what is the Mixed Reality Toolkit and how it can benefit you building MR solutions. We will check on the tools you will need to get started with your Unity project, install it, and get your scene ready. Since we don't have more than 45 minutes, I'm not going to get in depth into the different features, capabilities, or options with the toolkit, simply what you need to know to get up and running in different platforms. We will work in this session mostly with the Mixed Reality Toolkit, also known as MRTK. The MRTK are foundational components and building blocks for the common spatial interactions and UI. It's a collection of tools for getting mixed reality experiences off the ground quickly. To get started with MRTK, you will need to install Windows SDK. This is necessary if you are building a universal Windows platform app for Windows Mixed Reality HoloLens 1 or HoloLens 2. Of course, you need to install Unity. The recommended version is 2018, Visual Studio 2019, and it's optional to install the emulators for mobile or also the HoloLens emulator available. So the MRTK was created to be a cross-platform, multi-platform solution with performance by default, ensuring that every time you run your project, you get the same level of performance you need from every single solution. This release of the Microsoft Reality Toolkit supports the following devices and platforms: HoloLens 1, HoloLens 2, Mixed Reality Immersive Headset, OpenVR, Mobile R via Unity R Foundation. Let's talk about the different packages you will need in order to develop for mixed reality. We have the Foundation package, which includes the core components required to create a mixed reality application. As optionals, we have the Extension package, which includes additional services that extend the functionality of the Microsoft Mixed Reality Toolkit, like physics support, smooth scenes transitions, etc. Then we have the Tools package, which include helpful tools that enhance the mixed reality development experience using the MRTK. These tools are located in the MRTK Utilities menu in the Unity editor. As optional, we also have the Examples package, which includes the demonstration projects that illustrate the feature of the MRTK. In case you are developing for mobile, then you need also to include a package called Providers. This package will add the support for mobile phones and tablets, basically our mobiles. We will also need the package from our foundation, as well as our core or our kit in case you are developing for iOS or Android. Okay, so let's begin with the project. Basically, I'm going to open up the Unity Hub. As I said, I have 2018 installed. You can see it in the options in here. In case you have other versions, please select 2018 for this demo. And I will create a new document. I will call it Demo Rocks. And I will choose the option 3D, okay? Once I create, Unity will do all the magic in order to create the project. Okay, so Unity created my project, and this is what you will see in your UI. If you're not familiar with Unity, there are a lot of tutorials in their page in which you can get more information about each one of the panels and how to work in. Here I'm going to mostly focus on how to develop it with our Mixed Reality Toolkit. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is choose the platform in which I'm going to work. You have the option to select different platforms. In case you are going to develop for HoloLens, please select the Universal Windows platform, as we mentioned earlier. And if you want to develop for iOS and Android, the same options, this one or this one. Okay, so I will focus on the Universal Windows platform, and then I will teach you how to export to the other two options in our demo, which is iOS and Android. So let's select and switch platforms. Once the platform was switched, then we can start working with the rest of our demo. Next, we're going to import our foundation package, which is the one we need in order to develop for Mixed Reality Toolkit. So I have them, all the packages, I have them on my desktop. As you can see, we are going to import the foundation 230. So this goes to Asset, Import Package, Custom Package, and I will select the first option. Sorry, not that one. Foundation. Okay, there we go. Once our package opened, we will see all the information that we are going to import. In this case, as you can see, our package has the providers, the SDK, and the services. Okay, now our package is finishing importing, and as you can see, I have a pop-up window of the project configurator. Basically, the Mixed Reality Toolkit team at Microsoft created this in order to prepare the entire Unity project for you to develop for mixed reality. And in here, you have to check the options that you are going to need and the ones that you are not going to need. In this case, I'm going to disable the MS build for Unity because it sometimes makes a kind of errors with some of the SDKs. So next, I'm going to select the applied option. As you can see, under Asset, you have all the packages that we just imported. The next thing I'm going to do, since as you saw, I'm going to be working on a Universal Windows platform, is I'm going to start working with my scene. Once the toolkit is installed, you will see a button called Mixed Reality Toolkit, which has different options. And in fact, if you install more packages, more options are going to be added in here. Right now, we are going to select the Add to Scene and Configure for Unity to prepare all the scene for us to work with the toolkit. What do we have in our scene? We have a directional light, then we have different inputs under our Mixed Reality Toolkit, and we have a camera that is inside our Mixed Reality Play Space. The Mixed Reality Toolkit itself is provided the central configuration entry point for the entire framework. And the Mixed Reality Play Space basically is the parent object for the headset, which ensures the headset or controllers and other required systems are managed correctly in this scene. As you saw, we have the main camera, which is moved as a child for the play space. This allows the play space to manage the camera in conjunction with the SDK. An advice, please do not move the main camera because it is in the center of the scene. And also, this is going to be controlled by our MRTK. Also, I'm going to import the Text Mesh Pro Essentials, which is something our buttons and all the features coming in the SDK will need. Okay, so we will also need to configure a profile for our application. In this case, as you can see, there are a list of options which are already available, configurations that are already available. I'm going to select the HoloLens 2 configuration profile that already comes configured and with everything I need in order to work for HoloLens 2. I wanted to get in deep a little bit in this area because later we are going to change this in order to export our application to mobile app. Okay, so now if we test our scene, you will see that it is already working and it's already displaying our visual profiler, which is this box over here, that will continuously track performers over the lifetime of the development. This will give us the real-time information about the current frames per second and memory usage in application view. Great, so we will start by putting something in our scene. Okay, so let's say I have no idea how to create a 3D object, button, or understand the space. The MRTK has many features already available for you to start working fast and easy. Input features, interactable objects, bounding box. I won't explain exactly what each one of these features is, but you can understand a lot from the documentation available online. As you can see, there are a lot of prefabs already available for you to use. We will call prefab to a pre-configured game object stored as a Unity asset, which can be reused throughout your project. Some of the prefabs that are included in the MRTK are buttons, keyboards, tooltips, among others. I will leave all this information and the links to check each one of them on my blog. In this particular example, I will use a button. Back into my project, I have two possible ways into searching the button. First of all, I go to my SDK folder, to features, to UX, interactable, prefabs, and you will see all the possible buttons in here. As you can see, different shapes, and exactly I'm going to search pressable button number 2. Once I select that button, if you double click it, you can see how this game object is built. In the case you don't care, you can only drag and drop it onto your scene. Okay, so we have our button placed in our scene, and as you can see, I cannot see exactly where it is, etc. So I will double click it. If I double click it, I get a little bit closer and I can see him already. So I will move my axis in order to see him from the front. This is what I get. This is the button that we just added to our scene. I will explain highly what this game object involves. Basically, the button content object contains a front plane, a text label, an icon. The front plane responds to the proximity of the index fingertip using the button box shader. It shows glowing borders, proximity lights, and a pulse effect on touch. And the text label is made with TextMesh Pro, which is one of the resources that we imported. You can understand more on how to build buttons or different objects again in the online documentation. Back into our project, if you select the pressable button, you can edit some of the properties of this object in here. Properties like the position, rotation, scale. Number 1 means that it's 1 meter per 1 meter, which is pretty big for our solution. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so we also have a box collator. That's one of the properties that let me handle the button. And we have the possibility to add events to it. So some of them are the touch begin, touch end, button press, button release, among others. There are several properties. It's pretty nice to understand what each one of these items results in an object, especially this one, the audio source, in which you can put audio to all the interactable objects. So let's test our application. Okay, as you can see, I won't see anything. If I go back a little bit, I will already see my button. If you press the space button on your keyboard, you will see a hand that will simulate a hand in the HoloLens, and you can move spatially around the object. The nice thing about this kind of things, about this kind of button, is that when you get pretty close to it with your hand, you get a little bit of shine, which is that I'm pretty close to it and I'm already being able to press it. This simulates, of course, the HoloLens proximity to the hologram. Okay, so you can create your own 3D objects. In this case, we used one prefab that came with the MRTK, but I already have another asset created by me, which is the logo of the company I work for, which is 3XM Group. As you can see, it imported all the different parts that create the logo itself. So I'm going to drag and drop it to my scene. And if I double click it, you will see it in there. So now you have to start thinking this as a 3D environment. As you saw, the bottom is much more far away than our logo. If I see this from above, I will zoom out and let's see where is our bottom. Even it's in the lower part of our scene. Okay, so they are not close or they are not located near each other. Okay, so what I will do, I will change some of the properties in order for the bottom to stay below the logo. I love my company, but I have to understand that this logo is quite too big for our scene. So some of the items that I'm going to change, some of the properties, sorry, are the position. As you saw, when I clicked on the play button and tested our scene, I had to get a little bit away from our scene in order to see the bottom. So I'm going to set the position on the seat X of the bottom to 0.5. This will locate our button a little bit far away from the camera, so once we start our scene, we will see it in front of us. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to position our logo on top of the bottom. So first of all, I'm going to set the same position on XY that our bottom, and I'm going to put a 0.5 again to be on the same level on the seat X. So I am going also to scale it a little bit smaller so we can interact with our bottom. So I'll get closer and there we have, but there is one small thing that we need to fix. First of all, we are still having the logo too big. Our love for the company is really big, guys. Okay, so now we are getting closer. I think that's pretty nice. What I need to do now is to locate our logo above the bottom. So for that we need to change our Y. Sorry, it's not in the bottom. It's in the logo. Okay, so now we have our logo on top of the bottom. I'm going to, okay, now we are okay. Hey, okay, let's test it. Great, so we see our button, our logo, and again we can see our hologram from different sides, but it's not that big of a deal. So everything we saw until now can be created through code. Basically, you can create an object, an asset, and locate it in your scene through code. I'm going to create an event to show you how this works. In this case, I'm going to rotate our logo once the button is clicked. Something pretty simple, but I want you guys to understand how this can be done through code. And for starting a rotation, I will create an animation. I don't know if you guys were familiar with Flash, but it used to work similar to what I'm going to build right now. So I'm going to create an animation. As you can see, we have a panel in which we see the entire animations we have in our project. Right now we have the empty, any state, and exit. And I'm going to animate our logo. I'm going to call it logo rotation. I had already created one, but anyways. Okay, so I need our logo to rotate in his y-axis. So I'm going to start recording our animation, and I'm going to set the y-axis to 0, 0, 1. And in 1 minute, I'm going to set it to 360 degrees. So I'm going to stop recording, and this is what our animation shows right now. Pretty easy, huh? Okay, so what happens if we click in our project right now? The animation starts. This is because in here, when we created our animation, it's the first thing that our scene is going to execute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an empty execution, and I'm going to set it as a default layer. This means that nothing is going to happen once I click on my project, I build my project, but I have this animation I can call anytime I want. Let's go and try to test it to see that it won't do anything. Perfect. Okay, so let's start coding. It's important to understand how coding in Unity works. First of all, we have our game object, which is our logo 3XM group, that we created an animation that affects the rotation of the logo. But the rotation is absolutely individual, as you can see it in here, from our logo itself. So first of all, I'm going to select the logo and I'm going to assign the animation to it. As you can see, it will add an animator property attached to the logo 3XM1 that we just created. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the event that will launch this animation. For that, I'm going to create a new script. I'm going to select Add Component in the Inspector panel of that game object. I'm going to New Script, and I'm going to start creating our code behind script for this logo. Okay, so we created a C# file. I will double click it to open it on Visual Studio. And as you can see, these are the default events that Unity creates. Nothing more fancy than just a start and an update event that are empties. Okay, so the only event that we're going to need right now is the void start. So I'm going to delete this, and I already have coded in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a public animator that I'm going to get once our scene is executed. And I'm going to assign a start animation event to start our logo rotation. I think that's pretty easy. Again, this is only a sample for you to understand how to work with different objects and import a mixed reality application through different platforms. Imagine this, you can create a lot of events calling different services like the cognitive services and create different applications that call different web services with information. Everything is possible since we have .NET from code behind. Okay, so going back. I already created the event for starting our animation. What's next? We need now to create an event to call that animation. So we're going to add a component, a script also for our button. In this case, let's change the name of our button to something simpler. Okay, so I will add a new script to our button. Let's double click our script for us to open it on Visual Studio. Again, it created both start and update events, so I'm going to delete them. And I'm going to add the code that I actually need to execute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a public logo 3XM, and I'm going to name it object to move. Okay. Then I'm going to call the event rotate and set that if my object to move is different from null, there I'm going to start the animation. This logo 3XM is this class, so it's calling our class dot start animation. That's the only thing you need to do to relate both objects from Unity. So now let's work with the button click. Everything is set, but we still need to assign the events to our buttons. So as you can see, we have the different events from the bottom. I'm going to select the button press, and I'm going to set to this object that once the logo 3XM, once the button is clicked, I want the animation from logo 3XM to start. I also need to add the same to our click event. Awesome. And finally, you can see that the script is waiting for an object to move. As you can see, we name it object to move from code behind, but let's say we call it best logo ever. This means that we will be waiting from our UI once it's updated. See, our button will wait for the best logo ever. Okay, so we will add our logo to that event. Awesome. Let's save it and let's test it out. Again, we have our button and our logo. So I'm going to get, oh, great. So that's how you create an event. You can have a menu and you can move objects around you with only a couple of lines of code. As I said, all the objects can be created from code behind. It's not necessary to have a scene full of objects, but you can create and instantiate and position the objects from code behind. Let's see how we can export this application. As we mentioned earlier, right now we are working for the Universal Windows platform. What I'm going to select is the target device. In this case, I'm going to select HoloLens. Once this is selected, I'm going to build our application. I'm going to name it HoloLens. And we are going to publish it. Once our build finished, we will have a Visual Studio solution. Let's open up. As you can see, the solution has three different parts of the project. In one, you have the Universal Windows app. In the other one, you have the Windows Store, and the other one, you have the Unity data. If I had the emulator installed, I could debug it and test this application in our HoloLens 2 emulator, or if I had a device, I also could do it. Since I don't, I'm going to export our applications to mobile so we can see exactly what we build, and also we can check how easy it is to export this application to mobile. Okay, back in Unity, I'm going to change my platform to Android. Great, once it's finished, what we need to do is to import our package, our R Foundation package, as we mentioned in the slide earlier. For doing that, I'm selecting the window option in our panel and selecting the package manager. So in here there are a lot of packages available from Unity, but I'm going to select the show preview option. I'm going to work with our foundation version preview 6. So this is the one that better fits to our Mixed Reality Toolkit for the moment, so I'm going to install it. Once it's installed, I'm going to also get the R-Core XR. So we'll select it and install. Once everything is done, in order for a project to run in Android, we need to do some changes in the profile that we were working on. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we were working with the HoloLens 2 configuration profile. I'm going to set a new profile. So I'm going to clone this one. I select the option clone in order to make change on it. Next, I'm going to start working with the camera. The thing is, we need to work with our camera. So I'm going to clone also this profile. And in our providers, I'm going to add a camera provider. In this option, now you will see available the Unity R camera settings. That's the one that is going to do all the magic for our application to run in both Android and iOS. Remember, right now we are working with our core for Android, so these are the settings that you need to do in order to export for Android. Okay, great. So now simply we'll go to build settings and we will build our APK. Okay, so you can name it whenever you want and you will create your APK and you can install that APK already on your Android device. Let's check how would we work if we wanted to export this application to iOS. So I'm going to switch platforms. Once it finishes, we will need to uninstall our core and install. And now I will install our ARKit XR plugin. Okay, once it's finished, again we will check on our camera settings. And if in case you are not already building for AR, you need to do exactly the same thing we did when we moved for Android. We cloned our profile and we set as a provider the Unity R camera settings. With that, that's the only thing that needs to be applied to change from one platform to the other, and then you can build it for your iOS device. So previously I compiled the application to my device and I am running iOS. So as you can see, you have the logo, the button, and when we click it, we have the rotation of our logo. It's nice that the Mixed Reality Toolkit already places not only the button but the holograms in the distance of the camera. There are several things that can be built with Mixed Reality Toolkit for different types of business. This is another case we built in the 3XM group. Basically, it's a demo of an engine, and you have the possibility to disassemble that engine and check each one of the parts of the engine, not only from far away on how is it built, but also pretty close. It's not that difficult to build something like this, but it's difficult to code how this is being assembled from code behind. Another example that you can test and can download right now from both store, iOS and Android, is the Minecraft Earth that is already being developed with this Mixed Reality Toolkit. As you can see, you have the possibility to locate the hologram and interact with it as you wish. Okay, thank you so much for taking this session, and I'm really interested in your feedback. So if you can contact me on Twitter or through my blog, that would be amazing for me. Then also, if you are looking for a job, remember that we are always hiring at 3XM Group, and you can get to our website in which you will find all the different positions through this QR. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. See you now.